All right, hello, you beautiful people. We are back for the first mock draft of the year. I started the recording a little bit late. I was giving some people some time to show up, but this is for head-to-head points league. It's a 10-team draft. I got some people that in the Discord that in this league with me. Shout out everybody that joined, hoping that we get a full turnout so I don't have any auto picks, but remains to be seen. I can't really ask for much more. I told everyone when the draft was and shit, but we move. If you're interested in joining any of the future mocks, if you're someone that can make it on time and stuff, go ahead and click on the link in the Discord. We'll go ahead and get you into future ones. I always just drop a link in there whenever I'm about to do a mock draft, so if that's something you're interested in, then think about joining the Discord. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started here. So not too much to talk about with the first three picks. Jokic, Giannis, I assume Luka's going next. Tatum at 3, dude, that's a weird one, but whatever. So as you can see, I'm at pick 10 and 11. I sort of already have a somewhat draft plan sorted out. If you guys aren't aware, I made a top 50 rankings video recently. So if you haven't seen that out, I'll leave the link in the description. You can check that out. So I'm sort of basing my picks off of that because it is pretty much like the order I was going to draft people in. Of course, there's always exceptions in terms of like what positions you need, who you're going for, who you've already picked and shit like that. So can't plan that every draft perfectly, but that's kind of like what I'll use as a reference. So it looks like Team Ba has not shown up. Team Ba, if you're seeing this and you don't get in here, do not ask for help at all this season. It's such a piss off when shit like this happens. I told everyone when it was. Hopefully he shows up. I'll have to turn on auto pick for him if he can't make it. Sorry about this. I know it kind of ruins any mock drafts, but like I said, there's not really much I can do. I got the other 9 boys in here, so we'll just try to make do with it. But yeah, if I'm looking at who I'm planning on picking first, on my rankings I have Kevin Durant ranked 10, Karl Anthony Towns at 11, and Damian Lillard at 12. If any of them are available, I mean, I'm probably going to pick one of them, and then on the turnaround I'll probably try to grab whatever one's still available. Not too much to talk about here right now. I think it's pretty standard for the first, like, 10 picks at least. I haven't done too much research so far into who I'm picking on, like, the 90 range or the 100-plus range. But like I said, there's still a month to go until the season actually starts, so that's not really something I'm too concerned about. If you are new to fantasy, I recommend doing your draft. You shouldn't do it like any earlier than a week before the actual NBA season starts. There's just too many, there's too much time, there's too many injury risks, shit like that. You just don't want to risk it because you might draft a player and then he gets hurt the next week or something. In my opinion, you should just wait till the end of the year, or wait till the start of the NBA season at least, and then do your draft then. I usually do mine the day before the actual NBA season starts. So there we go. We have Embiid going at number 7. Pretty good position to draft Embiid. I have him at number 4. I think he's a consensus top 10 player, as was all these guys on this list so far. Trey Young going at number 8. No complaints there. So I'm hoping I can caught me a Kevin Durant here. If not, I'm fine with taking a Karl Anthony Towns, a Dame Lillard. Actually, I didn't even see LeBron still there. I guess I'll pick up a LeBron. I feel like small forward's always the position that's like, if you don't grab one early, when it gets to the later rounds, you're sort of stuck picking up a shitter. So definitely I'm going to be looking at maybe getting LeBron if he's still there, but we'll see who gets picked up here at number 9. I tried to make the pick 60 seconds this year. I was looking at my mock from last year, and I gave everyone 90 seconds, and that shit took forever. So hopefully this quickens things up a little bit. And also, another thing that I didn't really talk about yet, I was going to make a video on it, but I haven't got around to it yet, is the ESPN rankings, because they made that shit. And if you're looking, I looked at the video from last year, and at this time last year, Kemba Walker, when he got traded to the Knicks, was ranked like 30th, and that's just absolutely insane. He probably wasn't even top 300, top 200, so just something to be aware of. You can't follow them 100% all of the time, and not every ranking list is going to be right. So anyway, enough talking, it's my turn. If I'm looking at my rankings, I had LeBron ranked number 9. He's the best available, in my opinion, on the board right now. Plus, having 3 positions that he covers is just such a good deal. So I'm going to go ahead and take LeBron at pick number 10. And then at 11, I don't know if I want to pick Kevin Durant. I know I have him ranked higher, but I'm just looking like positionally who I'm more interested in taking. It's between Dame, Karl Anthony Towns, or KD for me right now. But you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and draft a KD. I'm liking that Bron-KD combo. 2 of the best players in the league, absolute monsters of fantasy seasons last year, both averaging over 50 fantasy points per game. I think only 5 players in the league did that, so if they can replicate that kind of performance, I'm going to be absolutely chilling. Plus, having the forward positions filled up early is something I'm looking at, because there are a lot of good point guards and stuff later on. And then I feel like the forwards sort of thin out quicker, as I was already saying, so very happy with my first 2 picks. Not what I was expecting to get, but no complaints so far, other than Ba not being here. Kind of a cuck, but what can you do? Yeah, if there's any videos you guys want to see, like in preparation for the draft, I usually do some sleepers videos. I'm thinking about updating my ranking list because I made them before. Like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got hurt, Keldon Johnson got hurt, some trades happened, stuff like that. But yeah, not too sure. Kawhi Leonard. See, in my opinion, this is way too early for Kawhi Leonard. Picking him at 12 is just a bit insane. I really wouldn't take him to the 3rd round. In my opinion, I've always said I was a bit too cautious on injuries last year, but I still think they are something to consider. And you're looking at Kawhi Leonard. He's just like the pinnacle of, he sits out every back-to-back. He doesn't really have a lot of motivation to play in every game because the Clippers are such a deep team. He's not as necessary to be there. Dame Lillard going in on the auto pick, but I mean that's a great pickup. But Boz lucky he got Dame. I have him ranked 12th. So, but yeah, Kawhi Leonard. If you're thinking about drafting him, there are just so many players that I personally trust more, or that I find to be more durable. Like I said, you can't 100% predict injuries, and some players are just too good to leave for later rounds. But I just feel like that is way too early for Kawhi. I would definitely not take him anywhere before 20, and me personally, I wouldn't take him before 30. But that's just me. Then we got Melo going next, Paul George, all pretty standard so far, pretty solid picks. You get Melo at 15, Paul George at 16. That's roughly where I have Melo ranked. Paul George I have ranked a little bit lower because I am kind of curious how he's going to, not gel, but how he's going to perform with Kawhi and having the entirety of the Clippers back and healthy. I think he takes a bit of a dip. I have him ranked at 24th, but he could definitely overshoot that. I mean, he is a great player, and like I mentioned, there is the concerns surrounding Kawhi. But LaMelo Ball at 15, great pick. I know my boy World on Music's going to be pretty sad about that. He's a big Melo guy. Pascal Siakam goes next. Solid place to pick Pascal. I don't see his fantasy numbers changing too much for last season. And like I said, with the fantasy rankings at the start of last season, ESPN had him at 44, and he way overshot that, finished in the top 20. So definitely people are more aware of him this year. Not going to fall as low. Then we got AD going next at 18. Good pick. I had him ranked around 21. Speaking of the injury concerns, they are there with Anthony Davis, but he averages around 49 fantasy points per game if he does play. So even if he can only give you 55 games, you're still looking at a top 20 return. The per game value is just too high to leave for someone to grab at the later round, because then you're really kind of fucked if he starts to go off, and that's just kind of something that can win someone else your league. So I understand why you take him there. Personally, if you're not comfortable drafting there, I don't blame you. But I'm not too mad at that pick, especially when it's already at 18. Devin Booker goes at 19. I think that's a solid position to pick up Booker in. Don't have too many complaints to say there. The only problem with picking last, I find, is it's nice to have the instant turnaround 2 picks in a row, but you get the 10 and 11, and then you're picking all the way at 30. So it's kind of tough watching all these players go, because these are all guys that can help win your fantasy leagues and can just have monster seasons. So it's whatever. Sabonis goes next at 20. If you're new to the channel, I always talk about Sabonis, one of my favorite fantasy players. I try to draft him every year, but it wasn't in the cards with this mock draft. I'll probably try to get him in a few of my personal leagues, but remains to be seen on that. I might try to run a few personal leagues this year, but I'll talk about that later in the video. Talk about these picks here. Jimmy Butler going next. I'm a little bit lower on Jimmy Butler than most people. I have him ranked at 30, in the 30s as well. And I mean, he went around 30, but not as low as I had, or he went at 21. Sorry, excuse me. I've been fucking up these numbers this entire time, probably, but whatever. If you're new to this channel, it is not very organized. I just kind of ramble. Don't edit this shit, just because I just want to give you guys my unfiltered reaction to picks. Just kind of speak my mind on all the players. Kyrie Irving going next at pick 22. I think that's exactly where I have him ranked. He's again like AD. He could miss some time, but I mean, they got rid of the vaccine mandates in New York and stuff like that, so there is the chance that he has a better season in terms of games played this year. Remains to be seen. There is a lot of weird shit off the court with Kyrie. He is somewhat of a dumbass with some things. It just pisses me off, but we're just going to focus purely on the fantasy perspective. And that's a pretty solid place to pick him up, especially if he gives you 60 games played. Then moving on to Zion Williamson. Again, someone who missed the entirety of last season. I am higher on him than I am on Kawhi Leonard, just because I feel like Zion has more potential to have a bigger fantasy nut season. I think he's going to play in a lot more games than Kawhi. And I mean, he's an absolute monster when he does play. Brandon Ingram, I feel like that is way too early because of the return of Zion. I feel like I'm seeing in the fantasy rankings that ESPN gave out, they do have Brandon Ingram pretty high. Personally, I have him all the way down at 43. He only averaged 37 fantasy points per game last year, and I really don't see that taking that big of an increase, especially with Zion getting back into the lineup. So I think that's personally way too early for Brandon Ingram, but Tyrese Halliburton at 25 I think is a great pickup. I'm super high on Tyrese Halliburton this year. I think he's probably going to get up around to 20 and 10. And that might seem like a bit of an exaggeration, or you might not buy that, but if we're looking at the Indiana roster, as soon as he got there, his numbers instantly started skyrocketing. His numbers on the season, he only averaged around 41 fantasy points, but that's because he spent like most of the season playing with the Kings. So now that he has the backcourt all to himself, I am expecting a big leap in fantasy numbers. So I think that's a great pickup if you can get him all the way at 25. DeJounte Murray goes next. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Shai, I had him ranked around 23rd, but now there's this news about an injury risk, or there's the news about an injury. He might miss training camp. He might be back for the start of the season. OKC just really piss you off for fantasy, man. I know some people are worried about, like they're going to rest them at the end of the season, but I talk about it all the time where your fantasy season should be ending with at least 3 weeks left in the regular season. Like, your last week of playoffs should be on, like, the third last week of the NBA season, because otherwise it's just, like, everyone's going to rest, and then it's just going to have, like, G League guys are going to go off and win your league, and that's just kind of annoying for fantasy. I think fantasy should be about, having the best team and not just picking up X random player with 2 weeks left and dropping your whole team. So try to do that. It makes fantasy more fun, more interesting, and not just bullshit who was the quickest on waivers to pick up some random guy on the Spurs or something. So with that in mind, Shai Gilgeous, like I said, injury news makes me hesitate a little bit more, but still I wouldn't let him fall outside of the top 30. Gobert at 28. Yeah, that's exactly where I have him ranked, so nothing to say there, really. I don't think his numbers changed too drastically, even though he's on the Timberwolves now. It's mainly just the rebounding and the blocks that keeps his fantasy value up. The only points he's getting are lobs, and I'm still expecting those to be there. So, all right, so then Donovan Mitchell goes at 29, and now it is my pick at 30. If I'm looking at the players that are left on the board here, the player that I have ranked the highest is De'Aaron Fox. He is someone who I'm way higher on than most people from what I've seen this season. If we just look at his numbers after Sabonis got there, man, he was averaging like 28 and 7, which is just huge. And I do need a point guard, so that is something I'm considering. But, actually, Chris Paul's still there. What am I talking about? So I can pick, Old Man Paul or De'Aaron Fox. But I think I'm just going to go De'Aaron Fox just to, double down on myself. He hurt me last year, and I'm ready to be hurt again. So as we can see, I got my forward positions covered. I got my point guard. For my next pick, I kind of want to get a shooting guard or a center. Vucevic, I think that's a little bit early for him. I mean, I have him ranked 31st, but I just feel like there's better players still available. Let's see. Definitely don't want to go down this low. Could get a Bradley Beal, but I am just, there is the concerns with Bradley Beal as well. But I think I'm going to trust my rankings. I mean, I made them after doing a lot of research on who I thought was going to have the best kind of season and everything. I know I said I already have a point guard, but I have Chris Paul ranked at 20, and if he can average the 45 fantasy points per game he was giving out last season, then he's going to be a really solid player. So I'm going to go ahead and draft 2 point guards on this turnaround. Might come back to bite me later if I can't get a good center or a shooting guard, but I feel like getting Chris Paul at 31 is a pretty solid deal from the production that we've sort of been seeing out of him for the past few seasons. So no complaints there. I don't know. It's a bit wishy-washy there. As you can see, haven't done enough research to be confident in who I'm going to pick right now. I'm just sort of using my rankings, looking at my positional needs and stuff like that. But can't be mad at getting a Chris Paul and a De'Aaron Fox. Like I said, I'm going to go over quickly while this dude's decided to make his pick and sort of show... Oh, where is it? All right, well, clearly I lost the plot here, so just give me a sec. Let's look up Fox for last season. If you guys aren't aware how to do this, usually I look at the totals and the averages. I think it'll show maybe 1 or 2 games here. Yeah, as you can see, we'll just get his last 4, but here we go. 51 fantasy points, 77, 60. He had a 25 against Milwaukee, but I think Sabonis wasn't actually playing. And then, this is why I say end your fantasy seasons early, because, look, this is when pretty much every good player that's on a bad team, or most good players, even if they've made the playoffs, get shut down. So, all right, Anthony Edwards goes at 32. Zach LaVine, 33. Bradley Beal, 34. Solid picks all around. Nothing to say there. I don't think there's anyone left on the board that I think has gone, critically undervalued or that should have been drafted already. Like I said, this draft has been pretty standard so far. Not too many surprise picks. I mean, Tatum at 3 was kind of a bit weird. I definitely wouldn't recommend doing that. But then we got Bam Adebayo going at 30. Is that 35? Yep. DeMar 36. I'm lower on DeMar than he finished like top 10 last season for total points per game, but I just don't think that's replicable. I mean, having your best season at the age of 32, I think he is, or I think he's 33 now. I'm not too confident that he's going to be able to reproduce that. So like I said, I had him ranked 33, so definitely not closing in on top 10. Who knows, maybe he'll surprise me, put up the MVP-like numbers for most of the season again, but I'm just not something that I'm betting on. Jalen Brown goes next at 37. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that might be maybe a little early for Jalen Brown, but not much. When you look at the players that are still left on the board, especially when he has the shooting guard, small forward kind of combination, same with DeMar and Zach LaVine, getting those guys at this position is just a very solid thing to do in your draft. If I hadn't been able to get a LeBron and a Kevin Durant before, I'd definitely be sweating it a little bit more and probably would have looked at one of them, but like I said, this tri-positional LeBron feature, man, it's broken. Absolutely broken. All right, next up, Fred VanVleet. That's a solid pickup there. Fred VanVleet is always one of the most underrated fantasy players. I don't really know why. He just goes about his business. He's going to give you upwards of 40 fantasy points per game, so overall solid. He plays a ton of minutes, too. I think he's usually one of the highest minutes played per game guys. Evan Mobley goes next. I do like Evan Mobley, but I do think this is a little bit early. I had him ranked at 48, so we're kind of taking him like a round earlier than I would have recommended. But like I said, who knows? Lauri Markkanen is gone, but I just feel like, Donovan Mitchell getting there now. Jared Allen's still in the front court with him. I just don't really see what numbers you're expecting to take that big of a leap from Evan Mobley. Cade Cunningham goes next. He's someone that I feel like I may have underranked, just doing some more research on him and sort of thinking about where I valued him. I had him ranked at 45, and he went at 40. So definitely not too far off from where I ranked him, but just doing my research, I think I may actually, when I update my rankings, I may actually move him up. Scotty Barnes at 41. He is someone that I feel like a lot of people rank higher than I think they should for points leagues. For category leagues, I think he could, maybe the ratings make sense. For me personally, I don't have him cracking the top 50 for points leagues. I just don't really see what you're going to get out of him, especially when the Raptors are at full health. He's a decent player, but I don't think he's giving you, over 37 fantasy points per game. I think he's probably even below 35. I'd expect him to be like the 35 to 34 range. And well, that's an okay player. I think that is a little bit early for him, but anyway, Ben Simmons, maybe a risky pick. Who knows with him? I just definitely wait. Like I said, wait till the season comes a bit closer to do your drafts, and then you'll have some more solid reports out of him. There was that thing on the JJ Redick podcast. I don't know if you guys watched that, where he sort of asked him about, what's been going on, because he's been sort of radio silent ever since the playoffs and missing all of last season. Didn't give too satisfying of an answer on if he's going to shoot or not this season, but I think at this point we just can't really expect him to. But he's a solid fantasy player, so not too bad. Darius Garland after him. I think that's a great pick. I had him ranked a lot higher before Donovan Mitchell got there. I think he takes a little bit of a dip in his value, but I had him ranked 34th, so getting him here is great value. DeAndre Ayton, I think that is... I don't think you should be taking DeAndre Ayton, especially when Nikola Vucevic is sitting right here at the top of the board. Vucevic had his worst fantasy season in the last 3 seasons, and he still finished top 20 for total value. So I think when he's still on the board at 44, this is where I'm like, okay, someone should probably be taking Vucevic. Same with Drew Holiday at this point. The fact that they're both still on the board is a bit crazy to me. I mean, if I can grab oh, there we go. So there goes CJ and then Vucevic and Drew Holiday. So right after I say it, they're off the board. And I got to start looking at who I want to pick now. Been too busy looking at all these picks. Haven't really planned my draft out too much. Someone who I am sneakily high on this year is Terry Rozier. I just feel like with the news of Miles Bridges, I feel like there's no way he gets back on the team. If you look at the Hornets roster, it's pretty much just Melo and Terry. So I feel like Terry's usage rate's definitely going to see an uptick. And even last season when he was sort of the third-ish option, wasn't getting the ball in his hands as much. He was mainly just playing in the corner off of Melo. He still put up 37 fantasy points per game, so I feel like I could definitely see him cracking the 40 fantasy points per game range this season. So definitely an underrated pickup in my opinion, if I'm able to get him, that is. But yeah, if we look at some of these rankings, this is just way too high for Christian Wood in my opinion. Malcolm Brogdon, I don't know what the hell he's doing anywhere near 50. Colin Sexton, I couldn't see. Oh, damn it, there goes Terry. That's tough. Let's see, who am I looking at next? Jalen Green, someone that I'd definitely keep an eye on. Maybe Apollo. But I do still need a center, so That's what I'm talking about. Like, rankings are good and all, but then it's like if you fuck yourself over and you need to get a certain position, I like to have at least 2 of every position, and then I just kind of go for best available. Unless there's someone on the board that I think is just an absolute steal, then I'll sort of just draft them even if I have more than 2 of them just to get them, because I feel like they're too valuable to let someone else grab. So let's take a look at centers that are still available here. See if there's anyone. There are a few sleeper centers that I do want to draft later, like Şengün and Jakob Poeltl, 2 guys that I think are being left a little bit under the radar and could have big seasons, so definitely could get one of them. But the thing is, when I have such a big gap between my picks, it's definitely a little risky if I don't take a center here now, and then maybe I don't get one of them later, so we'll see. So Kristaps goes next. Definitely not taking Randall at 42. If that is just, don't want to get hurt again, you know what I mean? All right, so if we're looking at my rankings, I had Jalen Green ranked 49th, and I do kind of want to stay by that. I really think he's like, if we look at his numbers like towards the end of last season, man, I don't think he's going to average 30 points per game on the season, but still like 56, 48, 46. I mean, look at here, averaging pretty much over 40 fantasy points per game once he had more of the ball in his hands and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to go ahead and grab a Jalen Green here. Plus, I mean, he's just fun to watch play. I know it doesn't matter, but, definitely something that I like to consider. And then this is definitely way too early to take Şengün, but it's just because I have such a big gap between my next pick, and I do need a center. The safer bet would definitely be Jarrett Allen, but do I want to play it safe now? As soon as I get past like my first few rounds, I'm just sort of in like a fuck it mode. I don't know if there's too much difference, and I just try to play the upside, but definitely something to look at. I feel like Jonas takes a big hit in his value. So now that there's only 25 seconds left, I pretty much tied myself into getting a center. Normally I would take Keldon Johnson here because I feel like it's a great place to draft him, but just due to the injury that he just had, I'm a little bit wearisome. But you know what? I'm going to get Poeltl. I'm going to get Poeltl instead of Şengün. I just feel like, underrated fantasy player. Even last season, he put up some decent numbers. And now that, DeJounte's off the Spurs now. I don't really know who's going to step up for the Spurs. My guess would be Keldon Johnson, but I feel like Jakob Poeltl has to take a big step as well. They really just have no one else on their team, so maybe it'll be Poeltl, I feel like that's why I have him as a sleeper. A few other sleepers I have on my list right now are going to be Poeltl, Colin Sexton, who's still on the board right now, but he's probably be drafted soon. Michael Porter Jr. potentially could average around 35 fantasy points per game, and there he goes, he just got drafted, alongside his teammate Jamal Murray. Randall sliding. Randall is sliding, man, but I don't know. There's just something about him, especially with Jalen Brunson getting there. I don't even know if Randall's still the first option, and it's looking more and more like a fluke. His one season he had where he made All NBA. Let's see, any other picks I made? Paolo Banchero, I had him ranked around 50, so I don't know if he'll actually get there. I think I may have just been caught up. I think he's going to be really good, man. Watching him play, like, he just looks legit. I'm a big fan of his game. His rocker step is crazy. Definitely could see him having a big fantasy season, but like I said, remains to be seen. Michael Porter Jr. going at pick 55. I don't think that's as crazy as you think it is, considering Jamal Murray's back as well. And Michael Porter Jr. did not have a good season last year. Granted, he was injured, but it's just really hard to say how we'll be looking this season. It's definitely a good place to pick him up, but I don't think it's a wrap if you get him there. You know what I mean. But yeah, so now that I got all my positional needs filled for at least one player. Definitely could go for another shooting guard or another center, but for now I'm just going to operate on best available. So let's see, if I'm looking next, I got picks 70 and 71, so there's not really any chance I can get my boy Jalen Brunson, who is someone else that I am way higher on than a lot of people. I feel like if he got up to 20 points per game and 7 assists, I can't say that I would be surprised. I think he is that good, man. I feel like a lot of basketball heads, if you watch a lot of, if you are into the analytic guys and stuff, they are very high on Jalen Brunson, and I think it's for good reason. If you look at his stats without Luka, he was putting up around 21 and 7 on low turnovers and great efficiency. So if he can maintain that on the Knicks, I do think he has a good shot of doing that. I think he's just a lot better than some people are giving him credit for. I think it'd be very dumb of the Knicks to not make him their number one option. But we'll have to see how that works with Randall and Barrett. And it is the Knicks, so anything could happen. Anyway, Jarrett Allen goes. And then we got Chris Middleton going at 57 and Jonas Valanciunas at 58. Yeah, Zion coming back, I think it really hurts Valanciunas, especially now that CJ's there as well. I don't think there's a lot of scoring opportunity left for him. But like I said, his rebounding rate's going to be solid, so he still has some latent value there. Colin Sexton goes at 59. Yeah, that is a nice pickup, man. He is someone that if I when I update my rankings, I'm going to have to really consider if I think he makes his way into my top 50. Just because, he's not as good as Donovan Mitchell, but he's a shot chucker, and he's going to have such a high usage rate on the Jazz because they're just going to be trying to tank their way to Victor, however you say his last name. So could definitely see him getting some sneaky value there. Then we got Tyrese Maxey going at pick 60. World on Music's not too happy about that, but I think that's a solid pickup. I feel like Tyrese Maxey is a little bit like, maybe I'm underrating him, but I feel like his actual NBA value, people are making him seem like he's going to be like unreal, or that he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to like make it seem like I'm shitting on Tyrese Maxey. I just feel like in general, when they mention like Philly's big three, people are saying making Tyrese Maxey seem better than he actually is. He's a good player, but I don't think he's as good as people are hyping him up to be. I'll say that. Don't get me wrong. I do love him. He seems like a nice guy. Anyways, Jalen Brunson goes next. I think that's a great pickup at 61. Brunson will put the Knicks on his back. Man, I'm feeling the same way. OG Anunoby goes next. Then Russell Westbrook. Again, in a points league, I mean, who fucking knows yet? Now I have to draft Westbrook. Yeah, I mean, he made his way into the top 50 with total points per game, but he was averaging like 34 fantasy points a game. And that was without AD for most of the season. And now they have the crowded front backcourt and everything with Pat Bev, Dennis Schroeder, and stuff like that. I'm very curious to see how the Lakers look right now. I really don't think they're going to be that good again. I don't know, man. They are a weird team. It's like a team that, you could either see them winning it all or like not even making the playoffs again. Not really any in between. Miles Turner goes next. Miles Turner is a weird one. Like, nobody really knows what's going on with him in Indiana. Maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. I just have no idea. There's not that many reports. All I know from him is that all I've seen recently is that he likes to build things out of Lego, and that's literally all I know about him. On the basketball court, no clue. Don't think he played in a lot of games last year. No, matter of fact, let's check that, because I know they shut him down at some point with some phantom injury. He only played in 42 games last year, 12-7. I don't know, man. I probably wouldn't draft him this early, but if you need a center, you need a center. Even though Rob Will is still on the board, he is dealing with that injury. 8 to 12 weeks definitely hurts his value, for my opinion. I don't know when I would draft him now. It's, again, another thing I'll have to do some more research on. And then I'm thinking about making a top 100 rankings video, but if that's something you guys would be interested in, just let me know. Then Sengun goes, Shangun, however you say his name. I think that's a great pickup there at 65. Good pickup, Brills. I don't think that's cringe, Sam. I don't think that's cringe, man. People are sleeping. This kid is nice. Now he doesn't have Christian Wood there. So he'll finally get some run, unless, Silas is just being an idiot. Speaking of Christian Wood, you might be asking why he's still on the board. I've had some feelings for a while now that he was going to get played off the bench, like just looking at their roster. Now, so he got picked on the auto pick. Getting RJ Barrett, or getting Keldon Johnson at 66 is a great pickup there too, also. But yeah, I've had my reservations. If you just look at like the Mavericks roster, like they're just such a deep team, and they have a lot of good 3-and-D guys, and they made the conference finals with them last year. And I think Christian Wood's value is a little bit overstated because when he was on the Rockets, he just had leeway to do whatever the fuck he wanted. But I don't know how well that's going to translate. So now that he's playing with Luka and he doesn't have the green light at all times to take whatever shot he wants. So now's the part of the draft where I have to go look for a player I'm trying to grab. Someone I am very high on right now, I think is a little bit of a sleeper. I already mentioned him, Kevin Porter Jr. He started off the season slow, but like I said, once John Wall got up out of there, Christian Wood wasn't getting as many minutes. You really can see, as you can see here in the recent game logs, he is capable of going on some streaky stretches where he can really put up some good fantasy numbers. Desmond Bane goes next. Bane before D'Lo. Man, D'Lo is not that good for fantasy, man. He's a probably better player, but for fantasy purposes, I don't think that's too crazy of a pick. Let's see. This is the problem. I haven't done any research really past my top 50 as of now, so this is the part of the draft where I'm looking, but I'm not too sure who I'm going to pick. Josh Giddey could be a good shout if Shea misses some time, so that's definitely something to consider. Devin Vassell, again, looking for Spurs players that could pop up. Could be him. If you guys follow NBA University on Twitter, you know how much he loves Franz Wagner, but I'm not as high on him as he might be this year, so I don't think I'm going to take him there. Let's see. Trey Jones, he's another sleeper on my list, but I think this might be a little bit too early for him. Lou Dort, absolute favorite player in the league. You already know I got the Lou Dort jersey on lockdown. Yeah, let's go see. Let's go back to the top here. Do I want to go for a Josh Giddey? That is the question. You know what? It's between a Josh Giddey. See, I don't really communicate all my thoughts because, like I just said, D'Lo's not the best, but I feel like at this position I could justify picking him up. So in between D'Lo or Josh Giddey, I don't know. I'm going to need more updates on Shea. So for right now, I'll just go ahead and pick up D'Lo. And then it's my pick again. Like I said, I could go for another center, maybe a forward, but for right now, my priority is just on like best available. So, could take a chance on a Spurs player, sort of hedge my bets on who the best player is going to be. But I think instead I'm going to go ahead and go with Kevin Porter Jr. Why not? Got the Rockets back. Got the whole Rockets backcourt here. Could see some explosive things out of them this year, man. Could definitely have the potential. Like, are they gonna like win a lot of games this year? Not a fucking chance in hell. They are going to be ass, but these guys could put up some good numbers. So just sort of take a flyer on good players on bad teams. But yeah, I'm liking how my team's looking so far. I definitely have a lot of guards now, which is good. Just need a few more forwards and another center, and I think I will be chilling. But yeah, definitely, like I've already mentioned multiple times, need to do some more research because, like, once you get down here, I mean, I feel like once you get to like pick 70, pick 80, it's pretty much like you're just looking for scrubs or rookies, and it's just it gets rough. It gets rough. That's like if you ever joined a 20-team league, you know exactly what I'm talking about when you're just like, man, you're just drafting guys you don't even know who the fuck they are. You're just hoping that they'll get minutes. Anyways, back up to the top. Let's see, what positions do I need? So I need a forward here. Jaren Jackson, again, someone who could have a decent season, but it's just the minutes played, like 27 minutes per game. When he's not hurt, he's fouling out so frequently. It's just, I mean, I think eventually as he matures, maybe able to work that out of his game. But I just don't know. So here we go. Wait, this isn't for last season. Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot he's hurt too, so... Jesus Christ, what? So many players are getting hurt already. It's hard to make fun. Hard to even keep it all straight. Clint Capella goes. Tobias Harris. He was someone who I was a lot higher on last season, but was definitely disappointed with the outcome. I think he's probably going to have pretty similar numbers to what he put up last season. Nothing too special. Rob Will goes. That's the auto pick. Capella in 2022. Don't kill me, man. Yeah. Josh Giddey. That's a good pick up there, like I said. Still have to await the Shea news, but can definitely see that turning into something. Wendell Carter Jr. Pretty solid option for a center. There's no chance I get him because I don't pick till pick 90, but I feel like if he's still on the board around the 80s range, definitely think about picking him up. Doesn't have too much competition at the center spot, just Mo Bamba, but they definitely prefer Wendell Carter Jr. as they should, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like just move my mic there. I feel like the Magic are going to be a fun team to watch this year. I am intrigued mostly by Paolo, but Franz Wagner could be set for a breakout season. Wendell Carter Jr., very solid center to have. Markelle Fultz is now hurt, but I mean, maybe he'll come back. Jalen Suggs. A lot of talent there, man. A lot of potential. Could definitely see us putting them up there with like one of the best young cores in the league by the end of the season. I feel like they could definitely surprise a lot of people this year. All right, so who are we looking at now? If I just go ahead and look at some of the people available, Dylan Brooks, I wouldn't draft him here. I just feel like that's way too high for Dylan Brooks. Kyle Kuzma, I mean, maybe. Nothing special, but especially now that Porzingis and Beal are there, I don't think we've seen the three of them play together yet. One of them's always been out or hurt or whatever, so curious to see how that's going to go. But all right, so then Jaren Jackson goes, yeah, like I said, maybe this is the year he'll stop fouling everything that moves. I'm not sold on it, but like I said, if he's still on the board 79, might as well risk it a little bit. Just take some flyers and who you think could have the best fantasy value. So definitely a solid pickup to get there. If I'm looking at my next pickup, speaking of flyers, I think maybe I could go for Franz Wagner. Oh, there we go. Wendell Carter. Very nice pickup at 80. Someone I wanted to talk about because I just saw a thing today. Jonathan Isaac is still not fucking back, and he's not going to be ready for training camp. What has he been doing? Like, it's been like 3 years now. And this guy is like a crackhead also, like off the court. Like, he is an absolute dumbass. Like, if you've looked up half the shit that this guy does, I don't even know. I'm glad he's not playing, but I don't even know what the hell he's doing there. I don't know how he's been hurt for so long. It's just been so fucking vague and mysterious this whole time. I should probably stop swearing so I don't get demonetized. YouTube, have mercy on me. Keegan Murray goes next. He looks solid in Summer League, but I just don't think he's going to have too much to do on the Kings. I feel like the Fox and Sabonis and Harrison Barnes in that front court as well. And not like he takes up a ton of room, but he does like to get his shots up. So I don't know how much usage there is left there for Keegan Murray, even though he should get a lot because he's a young player. But the Kings are still like trying to be okay. It's a weird thing. All right, then Klay Thompson, Kyle Kuzma. Klay, he could give you 35 fantasy points per game this season, which is a very solid pick to get at 83. He could give you low 30s again, but pretty much everyone on here is like, you're just hoping, best case scenario, they give you 35 fantasy points per game. And if they do, you take that and you are one happy man. But yeah, I'm hoping I can maybe get a Franz Wagner. Just a very solid player. He had a really good Eurobasket tournament. I don't know if you guys were watching any of that, but when you're starved for basketball in the offseason, you will watch whatever basketball you can. And it was a pretty fun tournament. He looked really solid. Played well for Germany. And it's looking like I might be able to get him here unless someone is having the same ideas as me. Andrew Wiggins, I mean, yeah, he's meh. He's pretty much like the epitome of just like meh for fantasy. Won the title last year, clamped up my Celtics. It hurt to watch. I was actually away at the time, so I was away at a seminar in a dorm room just watching Andrew Wiggins clamp Tatum. It was tough, man. He was making me see some tears in my eyes, that's for damn sure. But anyways, moving on, we got Brills back on the clock for pick 85. Not too many picks to go now, just like the 5 left. I got my turnaround here, so definitely going to look for Franz Wagner for my first one. And like I said, I would like to get a center if I could, but there's not a lot of great center options left. I kind of screwed myself over here by not getting one earlier. Well, hey, there's a lesson for you. This is what I was talking about. You can't draft too many guards like I did because then you'll be stuck looking at the Jackson Hayes and the Nas Reeds of the world. So see if they've ranked anyone stupidly low again. Yeah, so Isaiah Jackson, I mean, he has potential, man. There is a lot of minutes to go around on the Pacers. Like I said, I don't think Miles Turner's going to play this season. I don't really see why they would play him. They have too many young guys, but until we get some more information on him, I wouldn't like risk taking him unless it's like your last pick or something. Let's go back up. Malcolm Brogdon goes. I really don't think he's going to have too much to do on the Celtics, man. It's kind of weird. I feel like people are forgetting how good of a player Malcolm Brogdon is now that he's on the Celtics, but I definitely don't think he's going to have too much of a fantasy impact. John Collins goes next. I'm excited to see the Hawks next year. I don't think Collins will... I mean, he could get to like 34 fantasy points per game. Wouldn't be too surprised. But I don't know. Now that DeJounte's there as well, it's very crowded in Atlanta for fantasy points, and I feel like most of them are going to that backcourt. Yusuf Nurkic goes next. I think that's the auto pick, but like I said, if you need a center at this range, I mean, he's made of absolute glass, but, if he plays, he can put up some okay numbers. Mikal Bridges next, the Iron Man. You're just sort of betting on him to continue playing every single fantasy game. What am I talking about? This is what happens when you record for like 30 minutes. If he plays every single game, he could give you some good value. All right, so then Sadiq Bey goes, so perfect. I'm set to draft my boy Franz. Like I said, shout out NBA University, man. Check him out on Twitter if you're into basketball. He has a lot of really good takes, a lot of cool stuff on there. Big fan. All right, so then next up, this is a pick I definitely should have spent more time on. I wish Lonzo was healthy, and then this would be a no-brainer. Devin Vassell could be someone I keep my eye on, just because, like I said, I'm trying to get that. Everyone's trying to find, that one Spurs player that's going to take a big step up. And I have Poeltl already. I could pair him with a Trey Jones. He's someone that I am definitely interested in looking at. So point guard. If we look at his numbers, as soon as DeJounte left, I mean, look at this. You're seeing an immediate impact, high assist rate, not a lot of turnovers, very smart player. I think this is a great place to pick up Trey Jones. If you can get him at 91, like I said, you gotta just take your bets, find the Spurs player. I mean, maybe there'll be none, but what can I do? Franz Wagner, stop looking at the queue. I'm sorry, man. It has to be done. Trey Jones before Tyus? Yeah, man, I'm taking Trey before Tyus. You crazy? Tyus is still on the Grizzlies last I checked. Why would I pick him over Trey? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's confusing them, but Trey Jones, very solid point guard. Not too much to say. But now that I look, I have so many goddamn guards. And not a lot of centers, man. Who knows, man? I mean, maybe I'll find a center on a young team or something that, you know, is gonna maybe give their rookie some run. Maybe there'll be a diamond in the rough I can find. But at this point, I'm just sort of letting you guys see who other people are drafting. Maybe these guys have done some research. Maybe there's some picks that you haven't considered yet. So I'm just hoping this in general helps you guys out. Like I said, not the best mock draft because there's still like a month to go before the season starts, and I don't do my draft till the day before, like I already mentioned. R.J. Barrett goes next. Man, I didn't even know he was still on the board. I must have overlooked him. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with picking R.J. Barrett at 94. His efficiency is still going to be dog shit, and the assists are just so low that I really aren't expecting. Someone asked what I thought of him. Pretty much the same numbers as last year. I don't really see anything changing. And Devin Vassell goes. Brooks on the auto pick. Pretty standard so far. Like I said, maybe it's Vassell. I'm personally going with in order. I'd probably go Keldon Johnson, Poeltl, and Trey Jones. For my 3, I would sort of maybe bet on to be the players that see a big leap in fantasy, but Devin Vassell is definitely coming up in 4th for me. And like I said, maybe the Spurs are just so god-awful that none of them can even put up good numbers, but I don't know. You sort of have to have some faith in Pop that he can make someone turn into a decent player. I mean, look at DeJounte last year. He was ranked like in the 50s at the start of the season when everyone was doing their fantasy drafts, and he ended up finishing top 5. So there's always a chance, you know? Always the chance. Let's see. I mean, this is the part we can maybe start looking at some rookies. I mean, there's Jaden Ivey there. I don't know too much about him. I don't watch too much college basketball. I just watched, you know, Summer League. Maybe we get some footage from preseason and see how they're looking too. Factor that in. Not that you can make too strong a decision off of it, but just any footage you can get your hands on. It sort of definitely helps get an idea of how they're playing, where they're going to play and stuff like that. I was eyeing Lauri Markkanen actually as well. Now that he's on the Jazz, he also had a good Eurobasket. And I just like, if we look at the Jazz's depth chart, I mean, I'll just go ahead and look this up now. Utah Jazz depth chart. Before Olynyk got there, I was like, okay, it's Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen combo. Jordan Clarkson on the bench. But then I'm like, Mike Conley's still there. Beasley's still there. THT and Olynyk's there. I don't know if Lauri Markkanen is necessarily going to have the usage that he would have before Olynyk pulled up on the scene. So, remains to be seen. Who do the Hornets have starting at center right now? Actually, I should probably check that. Because I thought it was they're going to run it back with Cody Zeller, which was just insane. But now I think they're going to go with Mark Williams. Oh, no, Mason Plumlee. Sometimes it glitches and it doesn't have their shooting guard. Mason Plumlee is nowhere near good enough to be starting center. I mean, maybe they'll give their rookie Mark Williams a run. That's who I was expecting, but you just never know with the Hornets, man. Kyle Lowry goes next. Then we got Jeremy Grant going at 96. Gary Trent Jr. at 97. Now, that's a good pickup. Gary Trent Jr., I mean, underrated player. Underrated fantasy player for sure. The Raptors, the only thing with the Raptors is they are a very crowded team in terms of, like, shots, minutes available and stuff like that. But Gary Trent Jr. is capable of going off, having a 20-point night here and there on good efficiency. So, definitely a streaky player, but someone that, you know, if it pays off, it could help you win a matchup in a tough week if you're in a tough spot or something like that. So, God, I just cannot get over how badly I screwed myself up with the center position, man. It is not looking good. It's like all of these guys are just like they're not draftable. Isaiah Stewart, I just don't think is that good. He was looking like Klay Thompson in the preseason, but I would have to see some more evidence before I'm sold on him. Onyeka Okongwu, if they didn't have Capella, I feel like he's going to see a big uptick in minutes right now because when you watch him play, he's a very fluid athlete on the defensive end. Zoe in the mud. Man, he's hurt, dude. I just can't justify taking him this early if he's still dealing with injuries. I mean, at this point, I would probably take him. Like, if he's still around to pick 110, I'll pick him up. But I don't know. I understand why people are hesitant to draft him right now. See, so there's a Jalen Durant, a Mark Williams. God, it is tough. So don't do what I do. In the future drafts, I will definitely not get so down bad for the guards that I neglect having any centers on my team. The only one I have right now is my boy Jakob Poeltl. All right, Jaden Ivey goes. Yeah, I mean, solid pick. Take a flyer on a rookie. Why not? Generally, there's like at max 3 rookies that actually have, you know, good fantasy numbers for the entire season. Or not even for the entire season, for like the second half of the season, and like maybe one will be good all the way through. So it's just so hard to tell without seeing them actually get any NBA run into them before. So John Wall goes next. I mean, hey, why not? Clippers, like I said, very deep team. I really don't know what John Wall's role is going to be there, how much usage he's going to have. But when you get into the hundreds, man, you're just kind of picking whoever and just, looking at their upside. And if they have a downside, you can always just go stream other players off of the waiver wire. That is something I'm definitely excited to be doing this year. It's always fun at the start of the year where, there's always a surprise player on the scene that's on waivers. And then he just gets picked up by like 60% of all leagues. And then, boom, wins people their fantasy leagues. I remember Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in his first year at OKC was like that. You never know who's going to have. So then we have Jalen Smith goes next, and then Jabari Smith. Like I said, Jalen Smith, good player. I already mentioned the Pacers. I don't really know what it's going to look like with their rotations and everything. But again, I think Isaiah Jackson is a pretty decent shout. Buddy Hield still there. And he had a surprisingly okay season as soon as he got to the Pacers. Like, if we're looking at his numbers, I mean, obviously there's a lot of games where it's just 23 fantasy points, 29, 21, etc. Then there's also a few, 40s and 30 pieces mixed in there. Enough that I could be like, yeah, maybe I could think about taking him. If he's still going to be getting the minutes. I'm going to be honest, Harrison Barnes was a misclick. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, man. But it's whatever. He's like an Andrew Wiggins. He's not going to do too much, but he's just going to be okay. He'll probably average 30 fantasy points per game flat, I would imagine. So, not the worst pick for a misclick, I suppose. Yeah, I'm running out of shit to say here. So, if you're still watching the video at this point, I mean, shout out you. Drop a Lou Dort for MVP in the comments. You know how we do around here. Appreciate you guys for sticking around. Stay tuned. A lot of fantasy content is going to be coming out very soon as the season starts to draw nearer. I'll have more updated rankings. I'll have mock drafts that are a lot better. I'll have a full plan and everything. This is just kind of early sort of heads up just to see where people are going for. My early thoughts on players that are so all over the place and discombobulated. Hard is tough. I mean, he's a solid player. It's just, I don't know too much about Portland as well. Markelle Fultz, he's got that broken toe now, which kind of sucks. He was poised for a good season. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Then Lonzo goes on the auto pick. I think this is a fine place to take Lonzo. If he doesn't play this season, whatever. You can just pick someone off waivers like I already mentioned. But if he does play, I mean, that's a potential top 50 player there. So not the worst thing to happen in the world. Sheesh, man. It is rough down here. Bobby Portis. Cam Johnson could be a decent shout. Now it looks like Crowder's going to get traded. Could be poised for a little bit of an uptick in his numbers. Maybe get up to 15 points per game. But it's just like without the rest of the surrounding stats, there's not much there. All right, so it is my pick already. All right, so there's Lauri Markkanen gone. I think for my first pick, I'm going to go for Buddy Hield because I do need another small forward and a shooting. Well, I don't really need a small forward or shooting guard, but I think he's probably one of the better options available just off the top of my head without doing a deep dive. And then I need to think about who I want for center, so I'm just giving myself as much time as possible. Could I go for the Isaiah Jackson? Is that too early? Maybe the Kelly Olynyk puts up those Rockets numbers he had back in the day. Well, it is crazy, but you know what? He is the starting center for the Jazz. I don't know how they're going to look. I feel like they're not done making moves yet, but since they just traded for him, he's going to be on the roster for a little bit. So I'll go ahead and grab a Kelly Olynyk. Definitely not a huge fan of that pick. There's definitely someone better that's still available. Maybe an Al Horford as well, since Rob Will's going to miss some time. And I think I'm definitely going to go ahead and get an Al Horford here. I mean, Rob Will's out 8 to 12 weeks. Al's their only other center at the moment. Boom. There we go. I don't know why I was so hesitant on that. I think Al Horford's I'm sorry, Shadow Man. It had to be done. Dude, I'm sorry, boys. Al Horford, man. Even if Rob Will's playing, definitely hurts his value. But, if he could get up to even in the 30s for fantasy points, like you said, we see here, Rob Will does miss a ton of time, and he is capable of sort of filling up this, like, the box score with the steals and blocks. Can have a few high assist games, but overall, you're not really expecting too much from him. As you can see, his numbers are all pretty tame. Definitely not a big scoring player. It's all about, like, the peripheral stats with Al, so. But, yeah, I'm happy to get him at 111, or whatever I could get, 111, so that's fine. We're just winding down the draft now. Like I said, if you're still watching, if you haven't joined the Discord already, go ahead, link in the description. You can be in the next mock drafts. I answer a lot of questions in the Discord. Better at answering them than I am YouTube comments. A lot of people that'll give you advice in there as well. It's a really great community, so definitely check that out. Brandon Clark goes next. I mean, hey, it's a crowded Memphis front court, but he was pretty solid for them in the playoffs, so maybe we'll see more of him this year. Let's see who goes next. Monte Morris. I forgot he's on Washington now. That is interesting. Is he their starting point guard? Let's check that. I don't think so, right? But I am a big fan of Monte Morris. I talked about him a lot last year. He's just such a smart player, low turnovers and everything. Oh, he is their starting point guard. Okay, well, you know what? He's definitely like the fifth option for scoring on this team right now in terms of their starting lineup. But, I mean, hey, whatever. You're getting a starter at pick 115 or whatever it was. So why are you drafting Miles Bridges? There's no chance he's playing this season. We won't get into too many details, but his issues off the court, man. I see no way that the Hornets bring him back on their team. There's no chance that an NBA team's drafting him, and I don't think they should. It's absolutely horrible what he did, or I mean what he's alleged to have done, but I'm pretty sure he already wasn't. I can't remember if he was indicted. But anyway, I'm already going off on a tangent. Bradley showing his true colors. All right, so I'm still only on the centers here. Let's see, who do we got left? So I have my centers now. I got Kelly Olynyk, Al Horford, pretty much filled up every position. As you can see, 4 point guards, 2 shooting guards, 3 small forwards. It says 0 power forwards, but it's just because their secondary positions are power forwards. So we got like 5 of them boys right now. So we're looking good at this point in the draft. I have the very last pick, so I'm just going for best available. Buddy Hield goes. That's a good pick. Brill's like I already sort of talked about him. If I'm looking at my next pick, I mean, I could draft my boy Lou Dort, just for the memes. I mean, I don't see any too much fantasy relevance there. But I mean, hey, you seeing these numbers? 17 points per game, absolute lockdown machine. I feel like I just got to draft him for the culture, but we'll see. Maybe someone else will catch my eye. That'll be like an actually good fantasy player. Gordon Hayward, he could be a good shout. I mean, I am definitely going to need to do a lot more thinking and research on the Hornets. I'm very interested in their front court. There's Gordon Hayward, P.J. Washington, Kelly Oubre, Book Knight. I mean, Book Knight's more of a guard, but I'm just interested to see how that rotation is going to pan out. Who's going to get the minutes? Who's going to step up? Hayward just can't stay healthy, man, ever since that Celtics season. So, LiAngelo, man, you're looking for some LiAngelo ball action. Just got signed to the Hornets. Actually, I'm hoping he makes the team there because it would be fun to see all the Ball brothers back in the league again, repping the Chino Hills. And Brook Lopez goes. Again, there's really not too much to say right now. Could see myself looking at maybe Norman Powell, decent player, but nothing crazy. Just sort of standard guys for last pick in a 10-team draft. Like I said, I feel like I'm a broken record, but there's only so much one can say when you're just sitting here talking to yourself for 50 minutes. I don't know how the fuck people be doing podcasts and stuff. I am not that interesting. All right, so here we go. 10 picks left. Let's get it winded down here. Man, my mother's really thinking about this one. I mean, or maybe he left the draft, in which case, can't blame him. Appreciate him coming out. Oh, it looks like you got Mike Conley and Marvin Bagley. Thank you all of you guys for coming out to this draft. I really appreciate it. If you signed up and you came, like I said, you guys are awesome. If you want to be in some mock drafts in the future, go ahead. There we go. PJ Washington. Like I said, you're getting some Charlotte Hornets players. Not the worst idea now. I could go for a Kelly Oubre if I was being, actually serious. So I think that's what I'll end up doing. I'll keep it streaming just in case people want to see who goes around the 120 range. If there's someone might pick a sleeper here. Mo Bamba. Oh, it crashed on me. Yeah, no worries, man. No worries, Kenneth. Appreciate you participating. It was just the last 2 picks here anyway. So Smart going undrafted. I mean, yeah, I could get Marcus Smart. He's going to be probably a low 30s fantasy points per game. And you know what? That's not too bad for this point. So maybe Marcus Smart or Kelly Oubre. We'll see who's still there at the end of the draft. If not, I mean, maybe, Darius Baisley could be nice. I already mentioned my boy Lou Dort. Bojan on the Pistons. I could see it. Probably have pretty similar numbers to this season, which is just pretty tame. Nothing special. Same with all these players, man. Like, once you get here, it's like, there's nothing special. I mean, maybe someone will break out and I'll just look like an idiot, but I Really don't see that happening. I don't think anyone's still taking the chance on Oladipo. I mean, except for Oladipo. He had that one game at the end of the season, put up 40. I just don't see it, man. I think Oladipo's time of being a star is done. So, all right, boys, who we taking here? Let's see. Check the Discord here. See, oh man, boys are going in on each other. My boy Sam, invest in Fultz. I mean, hey, not the worst player to invest in. Herb Jones goes next. I mean, you're getting a starter. I don't think he's going to put up very relevant numbers for points leagues and categories leagues. I mean, you're getting an underrated source of blocks at the forward position, so definitely Herb Jones in the categories league is a lot better than he is in a points league. Then Jalen Suggs. I mean, maybe we'll see an uptick in his minutes this year. Steven Adams goes, then one more pick, and then it's up to me. I think, you know what, fuck it. I'll go ahead and, I was going to take Norman Powell. Well, there we go. So Norman Powell's gone. I guess that kind of makes my mind up for me. I shall go ahead and get me a Kelly Oubre. I actually named my intramural basketball team the Kelly Oubre Fan Club, and I could not change the name after, so they all hated me for that, because that was the name for the year. But anyways, that's going to wrap up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. One last look at my team. We got Braun, Kevin Durant, De'Aaron Fox, Chris Paul, Jalen Green, Poeltl, Russell, Kevin Porter, Franz Wagner, Trey Jones, Olynyk, Al Horford, and Kelly Oubre. Overall, really happy with my team. Definitely need to do some more research on this back end part. I'm happy with all my picks up until Kelly Olynyk. These last three definitely could have been a bit better, but hey, what can you do? Overall, I think this is a very solid draft. Super happy with my team. Don't leave the centers for too late. Lesson to learn for this one. But that's going to wrap it up for me. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.